Let's kick things off with a quick overview of the hammer's main parts. Everything that keeps this powerhouse running. Let's dive in.
All right, bud, so we're back at the back side of this lower cylinder now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we know what this is, the real business end of the hammer, right? So
right.
We kind of know what's going on at this point. Our fuel pump, our lube pump,
Sure.
and things like that are on the front side of the hammer. This is the back side here. So we've got our lead guides, our lower lead guide mounts.
Right.
This is where you bolt all your lead guides on. You've got your intake and exhaust ports here, right?
Yes, sir.
This really begins your combustion chamber. Basically, underneath these exhaust ports, right, is when we start building combustion. You've got a series of coolant fins on the lower cylinder. Then here you can see your lower lube check valves.
Sure.
That's what's delivering your oil in the self-lubing setup that we run on our hammers to the lower cylinder, which makes you not have to grease the hammer. You're not running grease. You don't see grease fitting.
No, sir. Yeah.
It's all self-lubing, running off of the oil. Right?
Okay.
And once you get a little bit past where you got your check valves, you got another lifting eye here.
Sure.
Right? We can use this to cable to the drive cap.
Okay.
Right? Or we can use this amber retainer eye to rig to your drive cap.
Okay.
Okay. So then you're on your amber retainers. There's some eyes welded on those. Typically, we don't want to rig to this, because that's really what you use to lift your amber retainers during installation.
I see. Okay.
You really want to rig to the casting here.
Understand.
Okay.
Yes,
and
sir.
then now you can see your damper ring is installed.
Right.
Look, everything looks good. Your bolts are up. And you see a series of grease fittings down around the amber retainer.
Yes, sir.
Right? Remember when we were looking at those amber retainers there and you had those brass bearings?
Yes, sir.
That is what these are greasing.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
And that's keeping that amber running nice and smooth over those brass bushings to keep everything centered up.
Okay.
And running like it's supposed to. We're looking at what's called the trip.
Okay.
All right. Basically, you ever seen those old videos of hand crank cars?
Sure do.
Kind of a similar concept we're working with here, right? So this device is used to go down and grab the ram, lift the ram up, and then mechanically release it, allow it to fall so we can start the combustion cycle and try to get these pile driven.
Sure.
Okay. So we got a couple different things we'll talk about here, okay? So we've got our trip tubes, and those are going to run the length of the upper cylinder, and that's what's going to guide that trip down and up on its path to get this hammer running, right? A couple of things we got to deal with, right? We've got our main sheave here, and this is where we're going to run our cable, our rigging, to our crane.
Okay.
This is a mechanical trip, okay? So this is driven by the crane. So we're going to run like a wire rope that you see behind you there.
Sure.
We drop this cotter pin out, drive our pin out, remove the sheave, throw the cable back behind it, put it back in, and then we're ready to rig.
Okay.
The key to rigging up here that we got to kind of be concerned about, if this trip was all the way down at the bottom, right? We want that rigging in your ball, your headache ball, or your main block on your crane to be up above these trip tubes.
Above the tubes,
right?
yes. Okay.
Because if you look back, you can imagine like a lead setup, like you see kind of what we have there. You don't want that block getting back behind the hammer and getting hooked up into the lead.
Right. Okay.
Then you got all kind of banging goes around. You might break your cotter pin off.
Sure.
You're in a bad situation. So when you're looking at rigging, you want to run your trip all the way down to the bottom, throw your cable around your sheave, and make sure the top of your rigging, where you're going to do any connection, it's going to keep your headache ball or your block up above these trip tubes. So you run your rigging back through your sheave, throw your pin back on there, throw your cotter pin back in. Always make sure your cotter pins are in good shape.
Okay.
Right? You want to make sure you bend your cotter pin up so you're not going to lose it.
Right.
And always set your cotter pin and allow gravity to keep it in the hole.
Gotcha.
Right? From top to bottom.
Yep.
Right?
Makes
you
sense.
don't want to do it this way. Something gets hit. Next thing you know, it walks itself out. And as loud as these hammers are running, very unlikely you're going to hear it fall or see it fall.
Right. Okay.
So that's what you want to worry about when you're rigging up manually.
Yes, sir.
This is your trip lever.
Okay.
Okay. So you tie your trip lever rope here, and as you're coming down, can you see these two mechanical blocks?
Yes, sir.
Two welded blocks there. If you look here on the inside, you can see this lifting wing. Okay. So this is actually your lifting lug that you use to lift the hammer up and down in the lead.
Okay.
Well, when it's on its way down to the base, you have to pull that, turns those wings, and that will allow that trip to slide all the way down to the bottom.
Straight through here.
Yep. Yep, and you see where your hand is on
Yes,
the
sir.
left? Right, that is where your latch lever that you see here, that's gonna impact that block. That's gonna fold that hook out, right? And then that hook's gonna come up and grab your ledge.
Okay.
Like we saw pretty clearly when we were looking at the ram that was out.
Right.
That's your lifting ledge.
Okay.
So the latch lever comes down, contacts, folds your hook out. The hook comes up, contacts your lifting ledge. Your trip operator is pulling down on that rope.
Sure.
Right? So we can move that trip up past this set of lifting lugs.
Right.
Up, and as you see, you got your trip slot here for your hook.
Yes, sir.
And you come up to your release block.
Ah.
That release block hits your latch lever, folds the hook in, and the ram falls. And that's what starts your trip cycle.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
At that point, once the ram falls, then we're relying on fuel, combustion, and resistance from the pile. So this is basically your starter. That's like your old school crank handle.
Gotcha.
Right? That's what this mechanism is doing.
And that's a wrap on the hammer's core components. You now know what keeps this machine going.